Good morning, and thank you for joining today's resident life cycle from prospect to move out training in Yardi Voyager. My name is Alexandra Silvestri, and I am the IT systems trainer. Today, I'll be supporting the session by opening the training, walking through the agenda, and the learning objectives. Here's our agenda for today. We'll start with our prospect workflows, which includes applications, the waitlist, and data checkpoints. From there, we'll move into unit offers and move-ins, managing current residents, notices to vacate and move-outs, reporting, and then finally, we will touch on system gaps and workarounds. By the end of this training, you'll be able to execute core leasing workflows in Yardi Voyager with accuracy and consistency, that you can prevent common leasing errors related to dates, statuses, and systems ownership, that you can confidently manage unit offers, move-ins, transfers, and move-outs, and that you can validate leasing data using key reports and yard dashboards. These objectives are focused on supporting both day-to-day leasing operations and data accuracy across the system. And now I'd like to introduce today's subject matter experts who will be leading the content of this session. Liv Newman is a marketing coordinator at the villages of Belvoir, and Shannon Starbuck is a community director at Fort Huachuca. Both bring hands-on leasing experience and work directly in Yardi Voyager as part of their daily roles. Today's training reflects real operational workflows, practical insights, and lessons learned by both Liv and Shannon while using the system. We'll begin the training with creating a prospect card presented by Liv Newman.
So I'm going to start by going to Voyager on the Yardi dashboard. I'm actually going to go into the test database, but if you want to follow along, you would be following along in training. So you would go ahead and hit training, but I'm going to use test. Okay, so to start today, I'm going to cover a few definitions that are important when you go through the Yardi program. To start, I would like to say the prospect, when we refer to a prospect or a prospect card, that is a resident that has a record created, but they're not attached to anything yet. So this is a resident that is putting in their application or is going to put in an application and hasn't been attached to any units. Once they are offered a unit and they have accepted, they are called a future resident, no matter what their lease status is. So whether they've signed or not, because they're attached to a unit, we're going to call them a future resident. A current resident is after the resident has moved in. A notice resident just means that they've submitted their notice to vacate, but they still live there. And then a past resident is anyone that has moved out. And you'll see the icons as we go through. I'll make sure to show you that the icon will come up beside their name to represent what status they're in. So to start today, I'm going to go all the way to the beginning of where you would submit an application and create that prospect card. So to do that manually, you're going to go in this left column here and hit prospect and hit add prospect. At this stage, you'll see there are some blue bubbles. All the blue bubbles are mandatory, but as you keep going, you'll notice that we're going to have to fill a lot of these in anyway. So I'm going to go ahead and start. And for demonstration purposes, I'm going to be testing 1 is my last name. You're going to want to make sure that you put in at least one phone number. I'm going to put in the cell. And you're also going to have to make sure that you submit an email. Whatever email you attach here is going to be the email that attaches to the resident portal. So make sure that if you want the resident to log into the portal, you put in a good email address for them. I recommend if they have a military email to put that in the secondary email space. because as you guys know, military emails sometimes don't receive everything we send them. So if they have a military email, I would put it here, and then their personal I'd put in the first block. My resident is going to be military, so I'm going to put them into military family housing, which means I'm going to hit FH under service desired. And then for demonstration purposes, I'm going to fill this out like I'm in the Army. So I would hit military. You can either type in the blue box like so. And when you start typing, anything that fits what you're typing will pop up and you can click on it, or you can hit the blue underlined section and all of your choices will pop up. So both of those work, completely up to you what you want to do to get that pulled up. And then I'm going to go with Belvoir because that's where I work. Okay, your first contact is just the first time that you interacted with the resident. So let's say I walked in and filled out this application. I'm going to put walk in, and then I would put my agent name, which is just my name. My source, let's say I walked in, that's how I found this place. And since I'm in a test database, the result is we don't have our blanks filled in here, but you'd be able to put in a result in your real database. And I came in today, so I'm going to leave that date as it is. Okay, so once this has gone through, you'll see it's loaded when this contact has popped up in the bottom. I don't need to do anything with that, but I am going to go to the next screen by hitting next here. Okay, so if you want to add any preferences like expected move-in date, number of bedrooms, anything like that, that's where you would do it under preferences at the bottom here. So I'm just going to change my move-in date to tomorrow, just for example's sake. Let's say I want a 3-bedroom, and you don't have to fill any of this out if you don't want to, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. And then I'm going to click next. At this stage, if you have any dependents, you would add them here. To add a dependent, I would hit this little document button with it looks like a star on it. And you'd fill in the dependent's information. So I'm going to go ahead and just say that this is my spouse. This is not a lessee. That would be somebody that would be signing the lease, and my spouse is not going to sign the lease. And if this person wants to also have access to create a resident portal, you would put in their information here. So I'll put an email address in there. And then if your spouse is military, you would be able to go up into the top right, change to military, and then fill out their information. And then you'll hit save. Okay, if you have another dependent, you would go in and you would just add another one. But I don't have any more dependents, so I'm just going to keep going. The next screen is select workflow. Select workflow automatically clicks waitlist workflow for you, so you don't have to do anything at this stage. You can just click next again. Okay, once you get to this point, if your applicant hasn't already put in their social security number, this is an important step. You'll see that my social security number is not popped up here, so I'm going to go in and edit that. You always want to edit the social security number under the military app type so that it connects to the lease. So I'm going to go under here to military. I'm going to go all the way to the right and I'm going to hit edit. Now I'm going to put in a dummy social security number. So throughout this test process, since the social security number has been used before, we're going to get a couple errors that just say, hey, this has been used before. Are you sure you want to use this one? And we're going to hit yes, because this is a test. But in real life, you would want to double check that you don't already have an applicant in with that same social. Once you've clicked save, you can click close. Okay, and it refreshed with my social security number. So we are good to go to the next step. Okay, at this stage, we're going to add the resident to a wait list. So I'm going to click the blue waitlist button, unless you know what your waitlist is called and would like to type it in. I'm going to go with the, let's see, I'm going to go with the 5-bedroom E6 to E8 waitlist. At this stage, you would hit the priority. The only two we really use are none and key and essential. I'm going to go with none. If they're key and essential, they jump to the top of the wait list. And then my eligibility date is just the date of my application. And I'm going to hit add to wait list. So this is another one of those warnings. This says, oh, this person is not in that pay grade range for that wait list. That's okay with me. This is a test, so it doesn't really matter. But if you get this warning in real life, you'd want to double check that you click the right wait list. Okay, so at this stage, I have been added to the wait list and I am in the waiting status. If you want to view the wait list, you can click into it with this blue hyperlink here. And you'll see that I am on the wait list and I am number 18. Okay, so you'll notice here that there are not any units available in this wait list. So I'm going to switch my resident over to a new one so you can see how to change wait lists. This back to my card and I'm going to add her to another wait list. Let's see, let me try to find another one that's going to have units on it. Okay, so she's also in this 4-bedroom E1 to E5. And look at that, I have units available. So since I'm already clicked on to my resident, I can click on to the unit that I want to use. For test's sake, I'm just going to click the first one. And you'll see all of the information for her lease and her offer is in the bottom left corner. And then all of the unit information is over here in the unit information block. Okay. So I said that I wanted to move in tomorrow, so I'll change this to tomorrow. And let's say we're going to do a 12-month lease. It will automatically fill in the lease end date. And it automatically quotes the rent based on the resident's BAH since they are military. If for some reason this resident had another rent amount, like if they were in a flat rate home, you would click this market rent button and you are able to change it. But if they are in a full BAH housing, you leave that unchecked and it'll automatically fill with their BAH. When you're ready to make the offer, this stage, you would hit make offer. Okay, so now the resident has gotten an offer. You have two options here. You can choose a rejection and change the reject reason and submit the response if you'd like to reject the offer. Let's say that she wants to accept the offer. We're going to hit accept and then submit response. Let's say that I actually wanted to move in today. You can go back to this screen with the wait list. To change the date, you would go to reverse acceptance. You would reject it and you would just go again. So I'm going to hit a rejection reason. I'm going to submit the response and then I can go again and just change it to today. Look at that, it already did it for me. Might have typed it in right the first time. Okay, so we're going to hit make offer. Okay, one thing you always want to make sure that you click into is the move-in calculator. Since I'm in test, this BAH rate is not going to show up correctly, but in a live environment, the correct rent amount would pop up here, and you just want to double check it's correct. Again, the dates are funky in here, so it says it's November. In a live environment, that would pop up with the correct date. Once you've confirmed it's correct, you want to hit save. Here's that pop-up saying that somebody else has my social. That's okay because it's a test. Hit save one more time and hit close to confirm. Okay, you can X out of that because that's been updated. And then I'm going to go ahead and accept this offer and submit. Okay, so now this person is a future resident because they have accepted an offer. So all that means is that you're going to be able to go into the resident section and find them there if you want to. So again, all I did was go to resident in the left, review resident. I'm going to leave this page. I am in Belvoir, so I'm going to change this to Belvoir. And I can search her here. And there she is. Okay, this one is canceled because this is the first one that I did. I can go back. And find the other one. And you'll see that this one doesn't say canceled. Let's go click into it. Okay. And there she is. Her move-in date information, her lease date information are all in here. You can see that she's accepted. She was an applicant that's accepted, but she is showing up as a future resident because she's attached to that home. Couple things that you can look into here at the bottom row are the service information. That's all of her military information. Her deposit information, if she has any, will pop up here. Her lease charges will pop up here once she's moved in. She's not moved in yet, so we don't have any. Late fees and accounts, this shows the late fees that will pop up here. Personal information, if you ever needed to update the email address or phone number for a resident, you can do it in here. And then other info is just other info that you might need. Alrighty, so now it is time to move this resident in. So I'm going to go to the top of her resident card. I'm going to hit functions and I'm going to hit move in. To do that, we're going to have to hit our lease sign button. Let's say that she's signed her lease today. And I am the agent and I'm going to hit save. Do you wish to execute the lease? Yes, I do. All right, now I'm just going to have to go right back into her after that lease has been signed, and I can hit functions and I can hit move in again, and this time it will let me go through. Oh, I'm sorry, this one is not ready for move in. Oops. All right, so if you see this this error that the unit is not ready for move-in, that is something you'd want to talk to your maintenance team about. When the unit has been marked ready by maintenance, then you'd be able to move in. And again, we're in tests, so these lease amounts are not popping up, but typically they would in a live environment. And if you're ready to move her in, all you're going to do is hit post. We're going to proceed with this move-in. If you ever got this error in real life, you would want to go figure out what's wrong, but we're in test, so you're not going to get the right amount. And I'm going to hit OK. Are you sure you want to move in? Yes, I do. All righty. And it's saying that social security number error one more time, so we're going to have to do it again. Oh, I got the wrong date in here. We can't move her in. Here we go. All right, so that resident was now moved in today. That is amazing. So she is all good to go. And you will see if we refresh and we go back into this resident. Let's see here. She moved into Mason, so she's going to pop up over here. All righty. Now you'll see she is status current. So that means she is a current resident. She is all good to go.
When you're working on this, when you're testing or training, and during your transition, if you go to admin and go to about, you'll be able to make sure that you are in a test environment or a training environment. It will say that right here in the database. So because I have a couple different roles right now, I just wanted to make sure that I am in fact in test. So just to do a little preliminary walkthrough of the dashboard, The first thing you'll do when you go into your site, I'm going to properties. So each of your sites will be set up on a dot post and like the first 3 or 4 letters of your site. So ours is post, HUA. And then sometimes they talk about it as a CLO, and they're kind of interchangeable. So you're going to want to go to your post property. Properties are also divided out within Yardi. So that would be each of your villages. So your post property is going to comprise all of your villages. It's going to have all of your villages in there. But you can also go in and look at individual villages or neighborhoods as well. So if you just want information about Crackerjack Flats or Cheyenne Village or Signal Village, you can search and work within just your neighborhood. But for now, we're going to go into our property, our whole site property, and that will be a post property name. And refresh is going to be a very important button to you. If you run into a glitch, I would recommend to just go to refresh. Sometimes with Yardi, the screens that pop up don't automatically close. So at the end of the day, when I close my internet browser, I might have 15 Yardi screens on in the background. So sometimes that can get laggy. So I would recommend checking that once in a while and hitting refresh if you're working in there for very long. We'll time you out also, and then you'll need to refresh as well. So from here, in this first column, where underneath the refresh button, there's add guest. That is where you will go to add a guest card and subsequently an application, which we'll go through in a minute. We're just doing a real basic walkthrough right now. There are, if you have leasing specials and you set them up in the system, you would go to this tab here to find them. Daily activity, that is what you have scheduled for the day. New POs, you're going to use P2P for POs. You can enter POs through Voyager, but not something we're going to go over today. And then new service requests, again, you'll be using a different training that you'll get from BJ on that. In the middle column is your unit statistics. So Fort Huachuca has 1,064 units total, and if you click on that button, anything that's blue and underlined, you can click on and it will open up. So if you click that and then you scroll down, it's going to show you all of your units. And then as you can see, the property, the unit, and the unit type are blue and underlined. So you could click on those and get more information. And that's something I really like about Yardi, is that you can go down rabbit holes and get all those tabs open and have them all. But a lot of information at your fingertips and very easy to access. The next one underneath is the occupied units. So that is how many people are currently living there. You can click that and get more information as you go down. You can click on the unit. You can also click on the resident, and clicking on the resident will take you to your resident tab. There is also available units. So those are the units that are on notice or vacant and have not had an offer accepted yet. They may have been offered, they haven't been accepted. So this is your list of units that are available. If you have extended an offer and they haven't accepted it yet, it will still be listed in here. Once they accept it, it will not show here. And then pending down units, those types of things are in here too, so that you have quick access and availability to get information about those. The far left column is your resident activity. So we have one move-in today. If we click that, it will show us who that person is. We could further click the name and get more information. Pending offers, what offers are still out there that haven't been accepted. Move-outs, that is not necessarily all the move-outs for today, and we still have some erroneous information in there that Yardi is working on for us. So there's still a few little glitches here and there, but for the most part, this is accurate information on the dashboard. Deposit accounting, that is, we need to process their move-out. Again, that one, we still have some people that came over through the transition that we're still working to remove from the system. Notices to vacate, self-explanatory, but that's a quick and easy way to go in and change somebody's notice to vacate. You can click adjust dates, and a pop-up will come, or you can click the resident and go straight to their card. And these are all things we're going to go over. We're just doing a little walkthrough right now. Scheduled lease renewals. If you do lease renewals, that will show up there. And alerts are just kind of basic information that that things need to be done or that things are coming up. There is a maintenance section there that you can go through. The make readies and the work orders at Huachuca, we do most of that through MIQ. And then the applications will show you everybody who is currently in the application status. And you can see all of those people, most of those people have been assigned a unit. So again, we could click on those names or those units to get more information. Okay. So we are going to take a look at a current resident. So down here, you can search by unit number or by name or by their tenant code. And we do use the tenant codes quite frequently in Yardi. So here is our resident, Alvin Word. He lives at 131 Carlson. And we want to look at his ledger. So this is their ledger. And as you can see, it's pretty basic ledger. It's got all of the pertinent information. Again, you can click on anything that is blue. So you've got their tenant code. You could click on the neighborhood. They call it property, but that's neighborhood, or you could click on the unit if you wanted more specific information about the unit. For accounting purposes and bookkeeping purposes, you could also click on these numbers to get information about that specific charge or payment. We also can add memos and documents. So we would go to our data, and there's a lot of information that you can change, adjust, or look up in this section. So if you wanted to change their rank history, they ranked up, then this would be where you would go for that. And you would enter the information in the blue sections. And so here we would change his rank. And we would change the date. We'd make sure that the dependence is correct. And then we would save, and it would populate here and show the change. It should change the BAH automatically for the next billing cycle. If they were on a payment plan, you could set that up through here. But that's not something I've had the opportunity to work with yet. You can enter memos in this section. You can put in phone calls or notices. If you sent them a text message, and you could just put the information here and save it for future use. We can also look at their lease charges from here, but we can look at their lease charges here as well. There's usually more than one way to look at something or to find the information. There's several options to find what you're looking for. You will go, Yardi calls them roommates sometimes, but you would go to data and you would go to the military family members and roommates, and this is where you would find that information. So here we can see our service member's spouse. And if you want to edit it, you would come down here all the way down to the bottom of the page to edit, and that is where you could change the information. And then you would go all the way down to the bottom again and save. This is also where you would go if you need to add another occupant, or if you need to remove an occupant. This is where you would go. Here we can see that this is their child, and then we have another child. So Alvin's personal information will be available in this personal info tab that Liv showed you earlier. And it's also available in this section as well. Resident history. This shows you the event history for this particular resident. So it'll show you when they moved in, when they submitted their application, when they signed their lease, and that historical information. And then you can also see what their current lease status is. In the reports section, again, that is where you would find their ledger, unpaid charges if there were any. And then most of these other options I have not had a chance to use or the need to use, but you should definitely look at them while you're in the test or training environment to see if it's something that you need at your site. And then in the functions section, this is where you will adjust their lease end. So this is where you could change the lease end date. And now you'll see down here that it has changed the date of the lease end. This is quick charge is where you will make a charge or an adjustment to their ledger. So if they have a tenant charge or they've got a new pet and you're adding a pet deposit, then this is where you will add that. You can put notes here, pretty self-explanatory, and submit. You can see that the charge has been created. And then when you go back to the resident, you can see it on their ledger. Here's where you can put them on notice. And add in the reason for move out. And save. The move out calculator, this will tell you what their prorate will be. Yardi will automatically prorate their move out on their ledger if they are on notice. So that's already done for you. But if you need to be able to tell the resident what it is ahead of time, it will automatically calculate that for you here. And you can get to the ledger from here as well. And then this is where you would move out your resident is here. And it's just like moving in. It is literally just clicking that button. If you wanted to transfer this resident wants to transfer from one unit to another. So there's two options. There's quick move over, which is not recommended. But if that is an option that would work better for your site, please work with your team on that. But what I use is move over. So when we get to the move over, we click move over, it opens it up just like a prospect, like what Liv was showing you earlier. So here I would put the date that they want to transfer. And then I would choose next. These are their dependents. Next. I'm going to change this to waitlist workflow. Next. Here's our occupants. Next. Yardi will stop you for phone numbers and social security numbers. Here's where I'm going to add this person to the wait list that has the house that they are going to transfer into. So I want this. And depending on what your site uses for their priorities, we've got that socked warning there. That's okay. We're going to tell it to add to wait list. So now our transfer person is on the wait list. And there they are. And I'm going to move them into 101 Crawford. So you do it just like a regular applicant, just the same process as what Liv showed you. And you make the offer. And then the resident will respond to the offer. And when you process move over to finalize acceptance, that just means that they've accepted the home. Okay, so you're going to do the move-in calculator and you're going to submit that response. So here's our offer. And we put in our move out reason and accept offer. Now you can do this. This doesn't have to be the same day. So you can offer them the house on February 11th, but they're not going to move in until March 3rd or 1st. And that's okay. It'll mark that unit that they are transferring into as accepted or unavailable for anybody else. And it will also make their current unit on notice. So this is what Liv was trying to show you earlier when you hit that available button up in the right-hand corner. This screen will show up, and this is where you can remove them from other wait lists or add them to a different wait list. Or say they're on your wait list and they cancel their application, then you could delete them from the wait list completely as well there. So that's this blue highlighted, and also available code will get you to the same place. Again, if I wanted to have specific information about the unit, I could click this because it's blue. And I can click his name, and that will take me back to his prospect card. So if any changes need to be made there, or I needed to add them to another wait list from this section, or I needed to change their move-in date, I would do it from there. Over here on your left-hand side of the dashboard, you have several options for reports. Today, I'm going to be focusing on this reporting tab. There are waitlist reports up here, but there are waitlist reports in here as well, and these are the ones that I use the most. Again, every site is different, so please, while you're in your training and test time, go in and play with these reports and see what you can find. It's amazing the information that Yardi has and the information you're able to pull on reports. In the financial section, that is typically for the bookkeepers and not, or the accountants, and not a section that the site will work in that often. The section that you will spend the most time in, I think, as in your roles, will be in military analytics, waitlist reports, family housing reports. The FH that you will see in Yardi means family housing, and UPH is unaccompanied housing. Military ad hoc reports, that is a section where you can create a report that is more tailored to your special needs. So if you want a report that shows all the residents and their pets and their social security number for some reason, and those were the only things you wanted, you could create a report in this section for that. Military reports has a lot of good information in here, and we'll go over some of those reports. Depending on your site, there are Army reports and Air Force reports, although I know these two sections are still being worked. So these are not sections that I run reports in very often. Military accounting reports, that is where you will find your delinquency reports, your lease charges, and if you need to look at a receipt ledger or transaction registers. Military resident reports, this is more your information about your residents. So list of current residents, move out reasons, dual service members. Resident activity detail is the report that is most like the pending task report in one site, which is a report we use here multiple times a week. And then occupants by village, you can create mailing labels. That's not something that I've done yet. Reasons for move out again, and then there's a reverse 911 in there as well. So I'm going to walk through pulling some of these reports. The first section I'm going to work in is in military analytics. And in this section, again, you have your family housing or your unaccompanied housing. If you have a site that has both, then you would alternate between those two. Here, obviously, you would put in your dates. And this is the drop down where it shows all the different reports that you can run in this section. This is where you will find your rent roll, is in military analytics reports. We are creating a directory for reports that will kind of show you what the report is called and what the basic information that report holds is for a quick reference. But again, I would definitely recommend going in here and playing around, because there are different sorting options, different summary options. So your site will probably have specific needs and different than my site. But the box score summary, you can summarize it by property, unit type, pay grades. Post is your post. So your post Huachuca, or you are post Belvoir, post Yuma. That is your whole site. And then in Yardi, each of your neighborhoods is set up as a property as well. So property is synonymous with villages or neighborhoods. So if you wanted to run a box score by property, show grids just gives you the lines like in Excel or Google Sheets on your display. So I've clicked display, and now that report is going to show up here. So this shows me my box score. These numbers are blue. I could click on them and get more information. I could click this to see how many offers were sent for Bonnie Blank during that time. So again, Yardi offers a lot of detail. And again, from here, I could get even more specific about information and go to this specific unit or to that specific tenant. Say I wanted to print this, I would just click Excel or PDF. It would download this report into Excel or PDF, and then I would be able to print it or save it. Obviously, once you export it to Excel or PDF, you are not able to click these blue numbers to get more information. You can also run this report by unit type. Again, you just change that here and click display again, and it will generate in the specific form that you've asked. and then by pay grades. The box score detail, that's going to get real specific. Probably provide all that information that you can drill down on those pop-ups. More of that will be listed on this report. This is a more specific report. But again, you can drill down on these blue numbers to get information. And again, you can ask it to export to Excel or PDF. Unit availability summary is a good report. This tells you what you have available. And you can sort it. Again, you can drill down on these and get more information. And you can change how you want it sorted. You can sort it by property or neighborhood, pay grades, or unit type. The unit availability detail is this report with more information. Again, these are blue and these are blue, so I could click on those and get more information about that specific unit or that specific tenant. The rent roll comes in many shapes and sizes in Yardi, so definitely go in and play around with the rent roll to see which versions are best for your use. You can run this by unit type. You can include your down or model units or not. You can add social security numbers or not. You can add the wait list. You can have it show address. And then you hit display, and that is going to give you this style of rent roll. Again, you can ask it to export to Excel or PDF. Rent roll with lease charges is a little bit more detailed. It will summarize by unit, and then you can sort it by unit code, pay grades, name, or if your units are down and why are they down. So I want to run this by unit code. I will click display. You can send it directly to Excel or PDF, but I like to look at it first and make sure that it is the report that I want. So here you will see this is the rent roll with more specific information. I will warn you that these reports, you do have to manipulate in Excel a little bit more if you want to filter or sort through Excel. So again, that's definitely something you should go in and test and play with. There's a lease expiration report. And again, you can choose how that is summarized. These are all blue numbers, so I could click on those to get more information. Jerry, you can, up here, this star button, you can save things to favorites. And I don't know, though, that it will save your parameters, but I think it'll take you to, military analytics. So again, that's something that you're going to want to test and see what works for you. Unit statistics is another report that I use quite frequently for reporting. This will show you how many bedroom or the occupied units or by bedroom size. It will show you your total vacants ready to rent. So for your end of month reports, your move-ins, your move-outs, again, these numbers are blue. You could click on them to get more information. Down here, this shows you your statistics. How many do you have on notice? How many are vacant rented? And then here is your occupancy by rank band. Security deposit activity, that would be more for your bookkeeping accounting side. Make ready whiteboard, not something we use here because we use MIQ. So depending on how your maintenance is going to be set up, that may be a report that you use. And then rentable items, not something we have on this site. So that's the military analytics section. That is where a lot of our reports that we use for on this site, like for the DASH, the PAM, the incentive fee, those types of reports is where I get a lot of the information, is in this section. Family housing reports, some of these are going to be the same as what we have just looked at, but it's just maybe in a different format or provides different information. So here you can choose by specific unit type or specific unit. You can group by property, unit types, pay grades, and then you submit. You can determine where you want this file to be sent. It looks different than military analytics, but it is kind of set up the same way. But again, I go to submit so that I can see it on the screen and make sure that it is the report that I want. Here's my information. I can drill down here again to get more information on that particular unit, but not that resident, just that unit. And then if I wanted to print this or save this, I would go here and export it to one of these, and then I would be able to print it. Back over here, you've got your unit statistics. You'll put in your date range. Again, I send it to screen first just to make sure it has the information that I'm looking for. This is another report that I use quite frequently for those who do the weekly CD reports and other reports along that line. This has a lot of good information on it as well. As you can see, this has some of the same information that we saw on other reports, but this is just in a more concise report here. You can run a report that will show you all the family members in a particular unit or on your site. Again, it will ask if you want to show the social security numbers on there and then submit. Oops. So here is your family member list. Again, it's going to show you your family members, your gender, your date of birth, age, what their status is, and when that family member moved in. There is also a report that will show all of this and have the pet information on it as well. It'll look like this report, and it'll take me a long time to run it, so I don't want to run it on this call. But it'll show the pet breed and color and age and name for 2 pets, I think, right now. There's a specific just pet information report. Our Army partners want a report that just has pets in case a pet is found on site. And so that's what they run. The military ad hoc reports, I definitely recommend playing with this and testing what you can find and what options there are in there. There are infinite reports, I think, that you could run through this. So you can choose from this section, you can choose here. Every time you change this, new sections will come up, and you can run with multiple sections. So you can do some from property, some from units, some from tenant, anything you want, you add them over to this section, and that report will generate for you. a mailing list report. That is going to be further down. We'll get to that in just a second, Carissa. Your delinquency report, you have two options here. It depends on what format you prefer. So in this section, you can choose the status of the people you want to run. You can do just past. And then you've got your summary. You're going to want to use residence payment due setting or whatever is best for your site. I like the grid, and then I'm going to ask that to display. This will show me future charges, total charges, they're owed by dates, prepayments, unapplied credits, and owed total. And again, over here, the tenant codes are blue, so I could click there and get the tenant information. There's many different ways you can run this report. So again, please test it and see what is best for your site. There is also your lease charge report in here. So if you wanted to check to see what your lease charges were going to be for the next month, this is also found when you do your monthly posting, which is in a different training. But this report, if you needed something specific for some reason, this you can see what all of your residents are currently being charged and what they're going to be charged in the future. You can export to Excel or PDF from there. Military resident reports is where you're going to get that type of information, Carissa. So list of current, there's several reports in this section that will give you the same information, but maybe in a different format, or maybe it'll have the social security number, or maybe this one has email addresses. So again, please go in there and see what works best for you. Don't be afraid while you're in test and training to run those reports, because that I have found is the best way to be able to learn. So this is a list of current residents. Again, you can download it to Excel or PDF, and this will give you all of this information here. This doesn't give you the option to not run it with social security numbers, so be careful. Reasons for move out with count, definitely something that we're going to use. So this shows you the total for that reason, and then the neighborhoods or properties are highlighted in blue. So I could click that and I could get more information about that property, but it doesn't give me any information on why they gave notice. So that's not super helpful in that case. If you had payment arrangements set up, you could do that. Dual service members, this has been helpful, especially during the conversion, because dual military allotments, the first few months, there were some glitches with those being able to be posted. So it was helpful for us to be able to pull this report and know who our dual military families were. Back into resident reports, the resident activity detail. This is the one that I feel like is the closest to the pending task report from one site. That is a report that we used here frequently, and so I'm not sure if you guys are the same, but this has been very helpful for us. So you can choose offers made, offers accepted. You can, there's all kinds of information you can select on here. So say I want to know my move-ins and my move-outs. Oops. And my notice is given. and how many leases I've signed. And you can run this to see how many offers you've given, how many have been accepted, how many were canceled. So you could really get some pretty specific information from this report. So this report sorts by neighborhood. So you're going to get all of that information that you've requested, but it will be per neighborhood. So this will show me my move-ins, my notices, and my move-outs for Miles Manor 1. And then for my next neighborhood here, again, these are blue, so I could click there and it will take me to that residence screen. You can go up here to the old looking floppy disk and you can download this as Excel, PDF, or Word, and then you could print it from there if you need to print. Back in military resident reports, there's other reports in here that you can run. Occupants by village, say you just want to know who's in a specific neighborhood or village. So right now we have a project in Miles Manor 1. So say I just want to know who's living there, and this will give me the information. It doesn't give the phone number or email on this report, but in these other reports, you can get that information. Occupants assigned, occupants terminated, military correspondence. That is if you are set up to send notices out through Voyager. Reasons for move out is here again. It probably has different information on it than the first one, or different options. This is test, so we didn't have anything during that time. And then reverse 911. This will give you basically all of your contact information for your residents. Again, Excel or PDF. Mailing labels, not something that I've done before, but let's see what happens. Well, look at that. So there's your labels. You wanted to print labels. There you go. I don't think you can do this by neighborhood though. Bulk unit history, that is your 7-year work order history. Live, I don't know how to run that through Voyager, do you?
Yes, give me 1 second, I can share. All right, so to see the work orders or to run the report, you want to go to roles in the top left and go to maintenance supervisor. This is where you can look up work orders, but I like to go to reports and then work order reports, and I'm trying, oh, work order history. This is where you would go. And then I think right now they're working on a way to just run for 7 years. This runs for all history, so you have to remove anything below 7 years, if that makes sense. And I think they're working on fixing that, so we should have it soon. All right, so for the portal, you have to go back into the Yardi dashboard. This is not in Voyager. Instead of clicking on Voyager, you're going to go into Rent Cafe Site Manager. And everything that I'm showing you will be is in live for me because Belvoir's already in it. So you guys can see what it looks like live. First, we're going to go to select property, and I'm going to go to the villages. This is our live environment. Okay, and not everybody will have all of the options that I have on this left side, but you should have some of them. So one important one that we're going to use is resident services, preview resident services. Okay, so once you hit preview resident services, you can select a resident that you want to look into. So I'm just going to select a random one. It doesn't really matter. This shows all dependents have their own resident portal. So as long as they have an email address entered into their resident card in Voyager, they can log into a portal. Whether you're the service member, the spouse, a dependent, no matter what, you'll be able to get in there. So here's ours. We've got our bulletin board, and you guys will have to set this up based on your preferences, but we've got a bulletin board where they can send a message. We've got our events listed. We've got a little welcome banner. This is where the resident can go in to make payments. So I'll show you what that screen looks like. So right now this resident owes $50. So if they wanted to make a payment, they would go to make a payment. Now I don't have access to open all of the make a payment screen because I can't make a payment for them. So I can't see past that, but that is the button that they would choose to access there. If they want to set up auto pay, they can do that. If they want to view recent activity, that's their ledger. And then payment accounts is just any saved accounts that they have. So a credit card, a debit card, or their routing and account number information would pull up here. Back to the home page. They can put in a maintenance request. So if they want to submit a request, they could do it here. They can add a photo. They can actually add multiple photos if they'd like. They can choose to give permission to enter, yes or no. And then they can also view their work order history and any descriptions and attachments there. And then back to the home page. They can also hit the contact us button. We've got that set up into multiple sections so that they can go straight to the person that they want to talk to. And if they don't know who they want to talk to, we just would recommend go to the leasing office. So whatever works for you guys, you can add a bunch of people on this list if you want to. Okay, any documents that that they have that you want them to be able to see, we can actually update in Voyager so that it will pop up on the portal. And I can show you where you do that. Sorry, I did say we were leaving Voyager, but I lied. If you go into any resident, any current resident, you can go into attachments. And if you want this to show on their portal, you can just click show on portal and click save. Okay, so if you do want to show things on the portal, you can do it. You can do it there. All right, back into Rent Cafe. When does the portal close to resident access once they terminate? This is something that you can actually update in your settings. Not everybody has access to those settings, so we'll have to chat and see if you do. Ours is set up for 60 days, and they can make payments through that whole 60-day period. If there once your application goes live, and the whole prospect portal is set up as well, you can actually get residents to sign documents in the portal. We don't have that function up and running yet, but when it is, it will pop up here. So right now they just don't have any docs to sign. And then they can also update their information, so their vehicles, stuff like that in their user profile. That is the portal, and this is again preview resident services. So if one of your residents has a question, you can pull them up and see what their portal looks like from their point of view and see if you can help them there. Another thing that we use a lot, if I go back to company, I go to company management in this left bar, And then user management. I'm able to look up all users. So let's say I have a resident that comes in and they're like, I don't have access to the portal. I don't know how to get on it. You can go into residents. I like to click all three, registered, unregistered, and invited, because I don't know what status they are off the top of my head. And then you can select up to 10 properties at a time. I'm just going to select one. And you can search for all of the resident portal accounts in that village. So you'll see here, this guy at the top, he's logged in. He, put in the wrong password on the 17th, but he's active and he's verified. So he's logged in before, he's doing his thing in the portal. You'll see Mr. Aaron Anderson down here. He's been invited, but he has not logged in before. You'll see registration status is registered. That means he has an account, it's created, and it was sent to him, but he never clicked the link to log in. So if we wanted to send him another invitation link so he could actually access his account, you would hit that resend invitation email box. If you wanted to resend an invitation to a lot of people at one time, you go to all unregistered residents. But this shows everybody in that village. You'd be able to look them up and find them so you could resend them a link. When they do go to log into the resident portal, they are asked to put in their email address, and they are asked to put in either a phone number or a registration code. The phone number is just the phone number attached, and you'll see it here. The email, the phone number, they have to go together. So make sure they're putting the right email and phone number in. If they're trying to put the spouse's email, but the service member's phone number, they probably won't match up and they'll have to try again. And then the registration code is just that resident code, which is here, and it's also on the resident card. So you can see it, here.
Thank you so much for participating, and we hope that you were able to learn a lot. So we look forward to seeing you using Yardi pretty soon. Thank you all for coming.